Azaria Tagaya. You're watching Nightline. Here are the headlines. King calls for stern action over Allah socks issue. And imported white rice to be cheaper from Wednesday. Good morning. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong wants stern action to be taken against those found culpable in the controversial sock issue. Sultan Ibrahim said socks being sold with the word Allah on them was a grave issue as it offends Muslims and threatens national harmony. In his social media post on Tuesday, Sultan Ibrahim said the word Allah is held highly by Muslims and furthermore, it is in the Ramadan month. The king said that the sock incident should not have happened. He explained that he has stated the need for the multiracial community to be united and respect each other in his address in Parliament, and yet this has happened. Whether this is intended or not, whether imported or produced by local factories, Sultan Ibrahim said he wants authorities to investigate and take stern action in accordance with the law so that there is no repeat. Sultan Ibrahim also said it did not make sense for a company with Malaysian staff to not be aware of these sensitivities. The king said that Malaysians have lived together for such a long time in a multicultural society. Hence, the ruler said that mistakes on religious and racial issues cannot be accepted anymore, nor should they be allowed to happen again. And in handling the sensitive issue amicably, DAP Secretary-General Anthony Loke stepped in to arrange a meeting between KK Mart and the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, JAKIM.
Saya sendiri telah pun menghubungi dengan pengasas KK Mart, Dato' Sri KK Chai yang kebetulan saya kenal beliau. Dan saya telah pun membantu dia untuk mengaturkan satu pertemuan dengan JAKIM. In fact, Dato' Sri KK Chai met with JAKIM Director General yesterday untuk memberikan penjelasan dan sebagainya. Jadi ada proses-proses dia, apa yang berlaku itu, ada pihak berkuasa agama dan sebagainya yang akan menyiasat mengapa punca berlakunya insiden tersebut.
Meanwhile, 5 pairs of socks with the words Allah written on them were confiscated in Johor following a police inspection at a factory in Sri Gading in Batu Pahat. Batu Pahat District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Ismail Dola confirmed the socks were not manufactured in that premises but imported from China.
Dia tidak ada buat jahit atau buat kilan, buat stokin di sini. Semua stokin adalah diimport daripada negara China. Dia pergi di China, dia import. Dia tunjuk pattern dia nak yang mana, so China akan hantar kat dia lah. So dia terima sini, dia packing dan akan edar.
Ismail also confirmed that the premises inspected was a distributor factory of socks bearing the word Allah. He said checks on Tuesday involved 16 bundles which contained more than 18,000 pairs of imported socks. The case is being probed under the Penal Code and the Communications and Multimedia Act 1988. In the meantime, the distributor Xinjiang Chang Sendirian Berhad expressed regrets with the negligence of its supplier from China. The company is considering taking legal action against the supplier who admitted negligence in including the socks bearing the word Allah in the shipment.
Kita mengakui atas kesilapan kita dan kita dengan rendah diri memohon maaf atas kesilapan ini. Kita berjanji juga kita akan lebih berhati-hati pada masa yang akan datang.
The company also said that it never ordered socks that bore words that can touch the sensitivities of the people in this country. The retail price of imported white rice will be reduced by between 2 ringgit and 3 ringgit beginning Wednesday. The decision was finalized during the National Action Council on Cost of Living NACOL meeting held on Tuesday. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Dato' Sri Mohammed Sabu expressed optimism that the initiative would be able to help the people reduce the cost of living, especially during the month of Ramadan and the upcoming festive season. He added that the government had also decided that all current rice stocks that have been purchased by manufacturers, totaling 140,000 metric tons, will need to be processed and made available to local markets immediately in order to boost rice distribution. At the same time, the Madani agro sales activities implemented by the Federal Agricultural Marketing Board (FAMA) and the Farmers Organisation Authority (LPP) will be expanded in terms of location and increased program frequency. Mohammed also shared that the government had agreed that all government contracts would use imported white rice to ensure that the additional 20,000 metric tons of local white rice would be fully distributed by April. The measures to implement lower rice prices and additional rice supply in the market would boost the availability of rice to Malaysians. The government has agreed for the Department of Statistics Malaysia (DOSM) to craft a new indicator to assess the cost of living level, extending its reach down to the district level. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said this indicator would assist the government in designing more precise and effective program implementations. In his social media post late on Tuesday, Anwar said the decision was reached during the first 2024 National Cost of Living Action Council (NACOL) meeting at Parliament on Monday. Anwar, who is also the NACOL chairman, said the meeting delved into several matters on the cost of living, particularly concerning the issues of rice prices and availability within the country. Several short-term mechanisms have been identified and will be implemented soon. He also stressed the need for continuous enforcement to ensure that no one takes advantage of the expansion of scope and changes in the service tax rate implemented on selected services only. In this regard, he said the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry launched a special inspection under Ops Kesan, which began on March 1st, to ensure that traders do not arbitrarily raise prices. The meeting was attended by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadilah Yusof, alongside several ministers, deputy ministers, senior ministry and agency officials, industry representatives, non-governmental organisations and academicians. The Education Ministry has issued guidelines for schools to protect students against the ongoing heatwave. The ministry said it prioritises the well-being, health and safety of students, teachers and all citizens in educational institutions under its purview, especially during hot weather or unforeseen weather conditions. In a statement on Tuesday, the ministry said that among the guidelines that need to be observed include halting all outdoor activities if the weather becomes too hot and monitoring activities that may expose students to hot weather conditions in order to ensure that their health remains unaffected. It also stated that schools must ensure a sufficient supply of drinking water for students and to encourage non-Muslim students who do not fast to bring their own drinking water. All educational institutions must also advise and encourage students to drink water in appropriate amounts to regulate their body temperature, supply drinking water to dormitory students in critical situations where there are no other available water sources for drinking, and to always remain vigilant and cooperate with the clinic and nearby hospitals in case students experience any heat-related complications. Additionally, the Education Ministry has also urged all educational institutions to consider granting special permission for students, teachers and group performers to wear appropriate sportswear during the hot weather based on the current needs and the situations in their respective institutions. An insider's look at the rise of digital payments, the dynamics of mobile banking, and how these innovations are transforming traditional financial structures. The impact of fintech on financial ecosystems in emerging markets with Jason Siu, Chief Executive Officer of Zendit Malaysia, this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong on Tuesday said that he will begin his real way of ruling after the quote-unquote honeymoon phase, which ends in less than 2 weeks. Sultan Ibrahim said that his commitment is to fulfill the responsibilities of the Malay rulers to safeguard the interests of the people and the nation. Sultan Ibrahim made the remarks during the royal address at the 2024 investiture ceremony for the Federal Territories Awards, Medals and Honours at Istana Negara.
Akan menambah 2 bulan saya memegang tampuk turut negara. Apabila habis tiba bulan ini, saya akan memberikan cara pemikiran saya yang sebenarnya. Saya akan patuh untuk disembah atau dijadikan perhiasan di dalam majlis atau di fasilitas sosial dan
The Raja Permaisuri Agong, Raja Zarith Sofia, also graced the event. On the conferment of awards, medals and honours, Sultan Ibrahim said that they were meant to recognise individuals who had rendered service or contributed to the Federal Territories, emphasising that careful selection was made to ensure deserving recipients. On another note, the King expressed hope that attention and allocation for development would be distributed fairly to all towns in the 13 states in Malaysia. The King said that if all states could be developed together, the migration of people to big cities could be reduced and congestion would be better controlled. Sultan Ibrahim said that the economic development in Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya has opened up many job opportunities. Such situations has led to the migration of people from other states to the Federal Territories.
Oleh sebab itu, kerajaan terpaksa membangunkan infrastruktur awal yang lebih cekap untuk mengatasi kesesakan jalan raya dan memenuhi kebutuhan penduduk pada raya yang semakin padat. Persoalan adakah kerajaan wilayah ini ditapis secara terus oleh kerajaan persekutuan. Banyak peruntukan pembangunan ditumpukan pada wilayah ini sahaja.
Meanwhile, Sultan Ibrahim called on the Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL, to constantly monitor cleanliness in its areas and reminded all Malaysians not to litter. In conjunction with Ramadan, the King advised all Muslims in the country not to be wasteful when spending on iftar meals and when preparing for Hari Raya Aidilfitri later. Still to come, Hong Kong legislature passes new national security law.
Seorang penuntut kolej ditahan bagi membantu siasatan kes pembunuhan bekas demam wanitanya di Negeri Sembilan Khamis lalu.
Perkara ini adalah satu yang tidak berperi kemanusiaan langsung.
Apa pasal kena bunuh? Memang terkilanglah.
Semasa ditemui, mangsa terbaring di kaki 5 jalan.
Welcome back. Onto the foreign front. The Zionist regime is upscaling its attacks on Gaza City, which has been the theatre for its military operations in the past 24 hours, killing dozens of Palestinians. At least 50 Palestinians were killed and 180 people were detained in its Al-Shifa hospital raid, while airstrikes and tanks were reported near the complex crowded with thousands of displaced people, as well as the sick and wounded. 15 Palestinians from the same family have been also reported killed in Gaza City, without any kind of rescue operation being made for the injured who are still stuck under the rubble. Gaza's health ministry said at least 93 people were killed and 142 wounded in the past 24 hours. In the meantime, mediator Qatar said it is cautiously optimistic after the start of indirect talks between Hamas and Israel to reach a truce in Gaza. Meanwhile, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk on Tuesday said the extent of Israel's continued restrictions on entry of aid into Gaza, together with the manner in which it continues to conduct hostilities, may amount to the use of starvation as a method of war, which is a war crime. The stark appraisal followed a UN-backed report on Monday saying famine is likely by May without an end to fighting in the more than 5-month war.
The extent of Israel's continued restrictions on the entry of aid into Gaza, together with the manner in which it continues to conduct hostilities, may amount to the use of starvation as a method of war, which is a war crime. The clock is ticking. Everyone, especially those with influence, must insist that Israel acts to facilitate the unimpeded entry and distribution of needed humanitarian assistance to end starvation and avert all risk of famine.
Hong Kong's Legislative Council on Tuesday unanimously passed a new national security law that expands the government's power to crush dissent. The new safeguarding national security law includes new measures on treason, espionage, external interference, state secrets and sedition. The law grants the government more power to quash dissent, widely seen as the latest step in a sweeping political crackdown triggered by pro-democracy protests in 2019. It also threatens stringent penalties for a wide range of actions authorities call threats to national security, with the most severe including treason and insurrection, punishable by life imprisonment. Lesser offences, including the possession of seditious publications, could also lead to several years in jail. According to Hong Kong Chief Executive John Lee, the move was a historic moment for Hong Kong, adding that the law, punishing 5 major crimes, would go into effect on March 23rd. South Korea has suspended the medical licenses of 2 doctors in the first punitive action over a month-long strike that has caused healthcare chaos. The Korean Medical Association KMA on Tuesday said its 2 officials who have been heavily involved in the walkout were informed that their licenses had been suspended for 3 months, purportedly for instigating the strike. The KMA has previously accused the government of using intimidation tactics to try to force doctors back to work, saying it was turning the country into a totalitarian state. Under South Korean law, doctors are restricted from striking, and the government has requested police to investigate people connected to the stoppage, including officials at the KMA. The government has repeatedly urged doctors to return to their patients, warning of legal action for non-compliance. But the standoff has spiraled, with senior doctors now threatening to join their junior colleagues as no serious talks are underway. Watanabe claims first World Tour title. Action from the 2024 Optasia Championships after this breather.
Pembunuhan yang paling kejam yang pernah berlaku di negara ini lah.
Dia diseksa. Itu yang saya tak boleh nak lupa.
Keadaan masa tu nampak kelang kabut sikit.
Memang sedih. Kes itu menggemparkan negara.
Ada sesuatu sedang berlaku di sana lah. Kita nak cari kebenaran.
Menyoroti kes-kes yang pernah menggemparkan dunia dan Malaysia, segalanya akan dirungkai dalam Fail Mahkamah setiap Rabu 9 malam. Terbaharu di TV3 dan stream sekarang ditonton.
Money Matters is back with a new season.
your key insights into finance. Money Matters. Every Saturday, 5 p.m. Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Antara yang menarik dalam Sembang Sahur minggu ini.
Cabaran kerja luar di bulan Ramadan.
Macam mana kalau kita ketika kerja di bawah terik matahari ketika berpuasa?
Ini Mira tak dapat nak bayangkan. Dan turut dikupas nanti bagaimana toleransi dua ahli masyarakat pada setiap sambutan Ramadan.
Yang tu macam mana pula?
Kalau nak tahu, jangan lupa temu janji kita pada 20 dan 21 Mac ini jam 11 malam hanya di TV3.
Stream melalui Tonton.
Back with sports now, national squash legend Nicole David said on Tuesday that despite facing challenges in developing the nation's sports infrastructure, Malaysia is ready to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games. Nicole also said in terms of athletes' preparation, Malaysia is expected to have no problems in fielding the best lineup for the multi-sport event.
I don't think there's too much of a difference. I think athletes are already preparing for some of the Olympics. Some for for me, I used to have to prepare every time Asian Games, Commonwealth Games. It's every 4 years. So we know that year is important. I think the athletes will just have to be ready for the task. That's our job.
On Monday, Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh said the Cabinet would discuss whether Malaysia should host the 2026 edition on Friday. The Australian state of Victoria, which was scheduled to host the Games, withdrew last year, citing escalating costs, which are expected to reach up to 21.59 billion ringgit, and has reportedly agreed to pay 1.17 billion ringgit to the Commonwealth Games Federation for breach of contract. Squash now, the 2024 Optasia Championships. New Zealand's Paul Cole turned in a Superman effort to come back from 2 games down to beat world number 1 Ali Farag of Egypt in London. World number 2, Cole, nicknamed Superman for his athleticism on court, lost the first 2 games 8-11, 2-11 before winning the next 3 sets 12-10, 12-10, 11-9. The victory saw the Greymouth-born clinch his second Optasia title. In the women's final, Japan's Satomi Watanabe produced the performance of her life to beat world number 4 Nell Gillis in straight games. The world number 19 recovered from an early setback to beat Gillis 11-9, 11-8, 11-6 in just 46 minutes. Watanabe's victory marked a historic moment as she became the first Japanese player to claim the World Tour title. After this short breather, attempt to smuggle 9 million sticks of cigarettes foiled.
Seorang penuntut kolej ditahan bagi membantu siasatan kes pembunuhan bekas teman wanitanya di Negeri Sembilan Khamis lalu.
Perkara ini adalah satu yang tidak berperi kemanusiaan langsung.
Apa pasal kena bunuh? Memang terkilang lah.
Semasa ditemui, mangsa terbaring di kaki 5 jalan.
Malaysia hari ini setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat.
Nak jadi pencipta kandungan boleh, tapi kena berpada-pada. Takkan pasal ibadat pun nak jadi konten.
Kesihatan kita bawakan tentang kepentingan AED.
Kesesakan pada bulan Ramadan ni bukan kat bazar je, tapi kat jalan raya pun sesak. Kenapa ya?
Isu perubahan semakin memeningkan kepala. Ialah rumah makin mahal, kemudian banyak projek yang terbengkalai.
Saksikan MHR 9.30 pagi di TV3.
Juga stream melalui Tonton.
We're back now with more local news. In Pulau Pinang, the Customs Department has foiled an attempt to smuggle in white cigarettes estimated to be worth 1.8 million ringgit in a container during an inspection at Port Klang, Selangor on March 7th. State Customs Director Roslan Ramli said the inspection was conducted when the container anchored at the port at about 10:40 a.m. Upon further inspection, 900 boxes containing 9 million sticks of white cigarettes were discovered, worth about 1.8 million ringgit, with a total tax of 6.12 million ringgit. The container, which originated from a Southeast Asian country, was managed by a shipping company with a branch in Port Klang and imported by a company based in Selangor. The modus operandi of the syndicate is to declare the items as furniture to avoid detection by the authorities. Further investigations are underway to track down the suspects involved in the smuggling activities. The case was being investigated under the Customs Act and the Excise Act. In Terengganu, a senior administrative assistant of the Kemaman Municipal Council MPK pleaded not guilty in the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court on Tuesday to 6 charges of bribery involving installments by a supply company for the hire purchase of a vehicle valued at 90,000 ringgit. The charges were read out to 51-year-old Yusliza Othman alias Yusuf before Judge Muhammad Asar Osman. The accused is alleged to have accepted bribes in the form of installment payments for the hire purchase of a Honda Stream vehicle from 2017 to 2022 as an inducement to secure MPK supply contracts for the company. The monthly installments amounting to 1,068 ringgit were paid by the supplier, while Yusliza fully utilised the car. The charges were framed under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Act 2009, which is punishable by imprisonment of up to 20 years and a fine of at least 5 times the amount of value of the bribe, or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher upon conviction. The court set bail at 12,000 ringgit with one shorty, with additional conditions imposed, including reporting to the MECC office monthly until the case concludes. Muhammad Azhar then fixed April 3rd for the next case mentioned. In Malacca, a senior clerical assistant of a school was remanded for a week at the Ayer Keroh Magistrates Court for allegedly awarding projects to a company owned by one of her children. The remand order against the 54-year-old female suspect was issued by Magistrate Khairunisak Hasni on Tuesday. It is understood that the suspect had allegedly abused her position by awarding supply and service projects at the school, amounting over 125,000 ringgit to a family member. Initial investigations by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC also revealed that such projects for 2019, 2021 and 2022 were also awarded to the same company. The suspect was detained at the MECC office in Alai, Melaka at 2:40 p.m. on Monday when she was summoned to assist in the probe under the MECC Act 2009. As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look as Godzilla stomped through the streets of Tokyo on Saturday to promote traffic safety. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for tuning in and selamat bersahur.